The image of my 7-year-old daughter, Celeste, tumbling down those concrete stairs. Yeah, that's going to haunt me for the rest of my life. But let me tell you, what happened almost 4 minutes later? Karen never saw it coming. She had no clue that pushing a deaf child could trigger a response she'd only read about in the worst headlines. You know what I mean? Because some fathers, we're not just here for the soccer games and report cards. Sometimes we're a whole lot more. Now, before I lay out what really happened that day, I need you to hear this. Stories like Celeste's, they aren't for revenge. They're so families like ours don't feel alone, so parents know someone's been there and survived. And if this story hits close to home, just drop a like or leave a comment. You never know. Your words might be what another parent needs to hear tonight. 6 months before it all went down, when Celeste and I first landed at Willowbrook Estates, it looked like a slice of paradise. Emerald lawns, rows of perfect townhouses, every mailbox shining. As a single dad raising a deaf kid, I thought I'd finally found the safe, quiet corner we needed. Funny, huh? How quiet, in a place like this, really means controlled. My name's Dominic Ashworth, and in Willowbrook, I was just another guy in khakis, waving as I drove my silver sedan out at 7:15 every morning. Just another neighbor, just another IT consultant, nobody special. Celeste made friends in a heartbeat, despite the hearing aids. She was pure sunlight, communicating with these big, bold gestures and facial expressions. Kids picked up sign language from her without even realizing it. She wore a medical bracelet that everyone thought was for her deafness. But as with everything in our lives, it wasn't that simple. But in Willowbrook, everything was ruled by Karen Blackwood. Karen, the kind of HOA president who'd been in power 15 years, always had the perfect hair and had an iron grip on everything. The rumors about her husband's death and her sudden wealth were just background noise to most people, but I should have paid more attention. She measured grass with a ruler, kept binders full of violations, and, worst of all, she was obsessed with keeping the property values up. Anyone with challenges, money, health, whatever, became a target for her endless stream of citations and friendly reminders. Unless, of course, you were Mrs. Evangeline Torres, the sharp-eyed old woman who lived down the street, whose garden broke every rule but somehow never earned a violation. She was always watching, and there was something about the way she moved, like she was playing a game no one else could see. 3 weeks after moving in, Karen showed up with a list of complaints about Celeste being too loud playing outside. Imagine that, complaining about noise from a child who couldn't even hear herself. Turns out, Karen had a problem with the little noises Celeste made when she was happy or frustrated. I tried to explain, thought if she understood, the nonsense would stop. Yeah, right. Instead, the violations just kept coming. Bikes not parked right, blinds at the wrong angle. The message was loud and clear. We didn't belong. Then came that October morning. The day started out normal, security check, coffee, checking on my silent work phones. Celeste was bubbling, ready to hit the playground, backpack bouncing, hearing aids sparkling in the sun. I watched her head off to the little park, waving at me with that grin that could outshine the sun. Then, 23 minutes later, Mrs. Torres banged on my door. She didn't ask, she told me, "You need to come now. There's been an incident with Celeste and Karen." The world just stopped. I grabbed both phones, followed Torres outside. She moved fast for someone her age, and she kept one hand near her jacket like she was hiding something. At the playground, my daughter was crumpled at the bottom of the stairs, blood on her forehead, her wrist bent all wrong, hearing aids scattered like broken promises. And Karen? She was up at the top, arms folded, wearing the most satisfied smirk I've ever seen. That look, I'll never forget it. Like hurting a kid was just another box checked on her morning to-do list. I knelt by Celeste. She was alive, breathing shallow, but out cold. Karen started shouting that it was Celeste's fault, that she should have moved, that she didn't belong here if she couldn't follow instructions. That's when I nearly lost it. I reached for my phone to call 911, but Torres stopped me. Not yet. Trust me. So I pulled out the secure line, called in a favor no dad ever wants to use. "This is Agent Ashworth. Priority Alpha. Assault on a federal agent's family. Potential compromise. Suddenly, Karen's smugness started to slip. Torres recorded everything. She'd seen Karen screaming at Celeste, grabbing her when she didn't respond, and pushing her straight down those stairs. As Celeste woke up, confused and in pain, I had to pull out emergency meds for her rare condition. Stress can send her into these fits that look like allergic reactions but are way more dangerous. And Karen? She kept coming, now filming us, ranting about HOA rules and trespassing. That's when Torres finally revealed her real edge, warning Karen to back off because everything was being documented for criminal proceedings. Sirens filled the air, ambulance, police, then a line of black SUVs. The whole playground became a scene out of a movie. Federal agents moved in. One shook my hand. "We have your location secured." Karen's face turned the color of week-old oatmeal. Torres handed off her recording. Turns out, she was way more than just an observant neighbor. Celeste was stabilized and loaded into the ambulance, clinging to my hand as I signed to her it'd be okay. The team spread out, locking the place down, and Karen finally started to crack, demanding to know why the neighborhood was being invaded. But that wasn't the end. Torres pulled me aside. Turns out, Karen's husband didn't just die. He was poisoned for the insurance, with evidence buried by a paid-off coroner. The money Karen used to bully families like mine, all dirty. And the harassment of families with disabilities, the forced sales, the embezzlement of funds for ramps and hearing aids, all part of a criminal enterprise bigger than anyone guessed. That day, as Celeste went in for surgery, Willowbrook Estates transformed from a quiet suburb into a full-blown federal crime scene. Agents raided Karen's house, found hard drives, secret payments, correspondence with crooked contractors, even city officials in on the scam. Karen was arrested for assault, embezzlement, insurance fraud, and, yes, murder. And the community, well, the folks who'd kept their heads down finally spoke up. Families driven out for accessibility ramps or noise suddenly had proof of systematic abuse. Celeste came home a few days later, a hero to neighbors who brought flowers and apologies. Her case led to Karen's conviction, life without parole, restitution for every family harmed, and the end of her reign of terror. Celeste, just 8, stood up in court, signed that deaf kids belong everywhere, and forgave Karen, hoping she'd learn that different isn't wrong. The judge didn't buy Karen's last-ditch complaints, and the whole community breathed out for the first time in years. Afterward, Willowbrook tore down the stairs, built a flower-lined pathway, set up the Celeste Ashworth Accessibility Fund, and held town meetings with interpreters and emergency equipment for all. Torres, revealed as a DEA agent, retired for real and became part of our family. Proof that sometimes the people watching the closest are the ones you need most. That Celeste's story spread. National laws were passed, requiring HOA oversight, background checks, and disability protections. Kids from all over came to play at Willowbrook's new, inclusive park, their laughter echoing where fear used to live. Celeste grew up strong, advocating for kids like her, testifying before Congress, and showing the world that strength isn't in what you hear, but in how you make others feel heard. 10 years later, on her way to Harvard Law, the whole town gathered by the flower path where those stairs once were. Celeste signed her thanks, reminding everyone that the loudest voices don't always use words. And sometimes the strongest thing you can do is just keep loving and lifting others up, no matter what tried to break you. So, now let me ask you, when justice finally comes, does it always look like you'd expect? Or does it sometimes come out of nowhere, in the form of a little girl who just refuses to stay silent? Tell me below, do you think real change starts with laws or with neighbors deciding to stand up for each other? What would you have done, standing at the top of those stairs? Let's talk about it, because sometimes it only takes one voice to change everything.